Wait, guys, Kaleb Edwards is just committed to Alabama. We're going to talk about the tight end and what he brings to the table and the momentum that the Crimson Tide continue to show and continue to have rolling right in through July. Isn't that right, Brett?
Yeah, absolutely. This was announced just about 45 seconds ago or so. You see Hayes Fawcett, the first one to post it, as he's coming to Alabama. What a big commit this is. 6'6", 245-pound tight end from another guy from California, like we've been talking about, Mick. Dorado Hills. He chose the Tide over Oregon, Texas, and Auburn. And according to this, he says Alabama is where people want to go who want to be great. And I want to be great. Roll Tide.
Yeah, I mean, think about this now. He picked Alabama over Auburn, Oregon, Texas, UCLA, Washington, was in Tuscaloosa June 17th through the 19th. That was the second time that he was there. Also was at the 8A game. So this 6'6", 235-pound tight end, big athlete, spent a lot of time in Tuscaloosa figuring out, hey, is this a place for me? And obviously, when it was all said and done, he, as predicted by our friends at On3, picks Alabama.
Yeah, and 24/7 Sports says this is probably one of, if not the top tight end in the 25 class.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, if you ask me. And I've always been a fan of the tight end, man. I love throwing the pass of the tight end. And this guy, he's a three-sport athlete. We talked about that on a couple of different shows. He's like I said, 6'6", 235. Guy averaged like 12 points and 9 rebounds in basketball.
Yeah.
He got an 82-inch wingspan, just a big kid.
Yeah, so what do you think this means for the recruiting class for Alabama to add this, another 4-star prospect?
Well, it just gets us another step closer to that number one class. This is not going to be the only commitment we get this week. I think there's a couple scheduled for tomorrow that Alabama's in the mix for. So July, June was a huge month, but July is going to be even bigger as far as recruiting is concerned and the commitments that come out. So we'll see. I think July is going to be an equally big, if not bigger, month.
So he's another one of the top players in the country. He's listed as the 122nd best player by On3 on the On3 top 300. And again, it's showing that the relationships Courtney Morgan and this Alabama recruiting staff have built, and it obviously starts with Kalen DeBoer, out on the West Coast, have followed them to Tuscaloosa. And I think that really goes to show what kind of people Alabama has hired as coaches, the reputation that they have, that you're seeing all these kids from California that are the best players in the state come all the way over and play football in Tuscaloosa. I mean, and that's something that Nick Saban was able to do as well. But what they've done, and you can really see this formulate with this class, is that they're attacking players that they really want in the South as they build those relationships. Micah DuBose, we talked about this, great example, committed to Georgia, backed out of that. LSU looked like he was going there. Alabama ends up bringing him in from Viger, right? One of the big offensive linemen. Ryan Williams helped out a lot. He's done a ton for the program since he came over. And they just continue to try to get the guys around the bubble, right? And then they're going out and getting these elite players, skilled players, the talent from California that they've built relationships with, and they're coming to Tuscaloosa. It really is phenomenal to see them with this type of class. Already number 2 with On3 and 24/7 Sports, and they're closing in on number 1. Ohio State better watch out.
Yeah, no doubt. We did lose one today, which I hated to see. That defensive lineman we'd been talking about, Javion Campbell, He stayed home, like we kind of talked about. He's from Frankfort, Kentucky. He did choose Kentucky over Bama, Auburn, Miami. But we've won more battles than we've lost, Mick, it seems like. And this guy, this tight end, Kaleb Edwards, he's got great hands. And this is going to really throw a wrench into this passing game, because if you look at tape and everything, the film on this guy, he's not afraid to. He can catch the short pass, and he'll go downfield for the long pass. This guy's got great hands, and this is just an added weapon to that Kalen DeBoer offense.
Yeah, this is going to help Brian Ellis, the tight ends coach. To have someone like this, and you talk about it. The guy had 828 yards and 44 receptions and 7 touchdowns last season. And gives you the big target, good hands, good soft hands, able to move when you watch his film. When he's in coverage, Alabama's had some great tight ends. Irv Smith comes to the top of the list. O.J. Howard, remember what he did in Tuscaloosa. And the best teams have had tight ends that they can really rely on. Amari Niblack leaving last year in the transfer portal kind of puts you in a spot where you're like, hey, what are we going to do in that area? C.J. Dupree was a guy that transferred in from Maryland, but then you go out and you get basically blue chip elite prospects like Edwards, and you're building towards the future. This is the 21st player in the class that Kalen DeBoer has brought in, and I'm just so impressed with how everyone questioned this guy's ability to recruit. And then every day it seems like, or every other day, we're talking about, hey, here's another big time guy that's coming to Alabama.
Yeah. And like I say, I think we'll get another commitment, maybe 2 this week. And they could be those 5 varieties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this guy could elevate to a 5-star. Who knows? But like I say, a lot of talk is he's one of the top tight ends in the country.
Yeah. So, you talk about the class. I'm going to throw this up here, Brett. And this is a picture from the On3 website of the recruiting class. So we'll give them a lot of credit because they do a fantastic job. But you start to scroll through now, and you look at the players that Alabama's gotten. You're talking about Dijon Lee and Daryl Johnson, Duke, right? You got talking about Derek Smith and Keelan Russell. I thought Keelan Russell was a really big one, 4-star quarterback that has just won and won and wants to continue that. Here's Chuck McDonald. Remember, he's another guy from California. You'll see a lot of those in there. Dawson Merritt, legacy football player from Overland Park in Kansas. Jackson Lloyd, the big offensive lineman from California again. And these are, you're talking about 4-star recruits from out in the Golden State. Micah Dubose, I really thought that was an important get for Alabama, keeping him from leaving the state. Anthony Rogers, another guy from the state of Alabama that stuck around. How about when they flipped Antonio Coleman from Saraland? That was a big deal. You start to see the momentum back then. And, Big Mike, how often have we talked about the Pennsylvania 6'6" offensive lineman, right? Kaleb Edwards slides right in there. Alabama just got that commitment. Harmon and Sanders, another guy, Abdul Sanders from out in California, the Los Angeles area, of course, Mater Dei, where Alabama has just done so well there. Zamir Smith, Luke Metz, who's from Georgia, sought after. Lazier Brooks breaking all those records in New Jersey. Mal Waltrip, the legacy Alabama offensive lineman. Landon Simmons, who's from Flowood, Mississippi. I feel like, London Simmons. I feel like Simmons is that guy that they like and that they found and that they're really excited about. Forget about the rankings on him. They just really like him. Miles Johnson and the new kicker from California as well, So you've got this recruiting class that's come together. It's an elite recruiting class. This recruiting class just continues to get better. They're also the margin between them and Ohio State is becoming razor thin for the number one recruiting class. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about this whole thing.
Yeah, because just like our friend Thomas says, A.K. Deere and Cunningham both leading toward Bama. And I tell you what, Thomas, I think it's a strong, strong lane, almost falling into Tuscaloosa. I think we're going to get those two. Yeah,
so do I. And we've had Cunningham on the show a couple of times. What a great guy he is. A.K. Deere is eventually going to be a 5-star. I'm just really believe that. Number one running back, according to a lot of people. Old Rock guy, that's like Brett. Keep this wave rolling, right? And the challenge is going to be to keeping them committed. I really feel like the connection that Kalen DeBoer is making with the families of these guys will keep this class together. I just feel like that they're creating something special. And it reminds me of when Nick Saban took over. Just all of the energy that's around the program right now.
That and these guys are already building relationships with one another, and they haven't even stepped foot on campus,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I understand definitely the point there. You want to keep the class together, but I think a coach will do a great job with that, as he has with recruiting this whole time.
Yeah. So you think that A.K. Deere, Caleb Cunningham could be next to swing to Tuscaloosa, or what do you think? I mean, there's so many. What's that?
Dynamic duo from Mississippi. Are you kidding me? Man, that 1-2 punch is gonna punch out Ohio State.
Yeah,
gonna push us, baby, toward the top. I think they're gonna be coming in, and we've got several more on deck, but a lot of those are 5 stars. Look, we're going to end up with the number one class in the SEC. And I really believe, like I said before, we're going to end up with the number one class before it's all said and done with.
Shout out to Courtney Morgan again. What a great job he's done of adjusting to life in Tuscaloosa from Washington, using the connections that Washington had helped those guys build in their time there, and then bringing some of those elite players to Alabama, still focusing on the guys in state, and basically being the linchpin guy for this whole recruiting process for Alabama. And it's a different style than we saw with Nick Saban, or maybe just a different title, but it's the same result. And that's every time you turn around, there's Alabama in the middle of bringing in a big time player that's helping this program. And I just want to say that you love seeing what this guy's doing.
Yeah, the staff has done a great job. And I hate, this Ohio State deal. It still irks me that Offord is still committed to Ohio State. And I don't know, at this point, I think he's probably a lock for them, but it just irks me to death for Ohio State to come in to Alabama and snag the number one player in the state. That's killer to me, but it's all done on the field. We'll do our talking on the field. It's fine.
Yeah, and a lot of this, too, is that Ohio State has put the money forward to do some of this stuff, to basically go after Alabama on a guy like Caleb Downs, or to come into the state and outspend the competition for certain players. And that's part of what's happening right now with NIL, but we'll see how long that they can maintain that. And I think eventually there'll be some kind of a rule that'll be set up, or, we'll see if that works. And, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but you're not going to get them all. Never, even Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban, didn't get them all. Look for Ty Haywood. I think you're right. I think Ty Haywood's coming. I really do. I think that this class could be very special. I think we could look back at this class like we look back at that first Nick Saban class when Julio and Mark Ingram and all those guys said they were coming to Tuscaloosa. The program's not in the peril it was when Nick Saban took over. It's in great shape, but there's a new energy, and you're seeing it with commitments like this, which is so super exciting, Brett. I mean, just super exciting. And again, like the guys that cover this every day, Andrew Bone, Tim Watson, those guys, they predicted that this would happen, and they've been right. I mean, those guys have kind of been on the money when it comes to figuring out who's coming and all of that stuff. So, we'll be keeping an eye out on the next move, but super impressed, man. Any final thoughts?
Nope, just happy to get another one in the old bag, and we'll talk about it more in the morning, I guess, and we'll keep an eye out on anything else that happens between now and in the morning.
Guys, we're going to be at Pearl River Resort Friday and Saturday. So just got word that you and I, Brett, are going to Dancing Rabbit. We're going to do one of our shows from Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, which will be a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. All right. This is cool. Yeah. Y'all just y'all meet us there. Meet me at the roulette table or the Wheel of Fortune machine. That's one of my favorites. So you'll see me there and come hang out.
Yep. Show's brought to you by our friends at Pearl River Resort. And look, guys, roll Tide. Big commitment for Alabama again. The Tide building this recruiting class, and today it was Kaleb Edwards, a tight end, maybe the best tight end in the nation, that just picked Alabama. At least to some publications he is. So this is a big get. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
To Pearl River Resort.